welcome back to the deep dive. Okay, so our job, as always, is to take all those sources you send us, the articles, fan wikis, interviews, you name it, and really boil it all down for you.
Okay, cut through the noise.
Exactly. And today, we are suiting up. It's going to be wait for it. Dreary. We're diving deep into How I Met Your Mother.
Oh, yeah. This is a big one. 9 seasons, over 200 episodes. It ran from 2005 to 2014. And honestly, it kind of redefined the network sitcom in a lot of ways.
You really did.
So our mission today is to go beyond, the yellow umbrella and the catchphrases. We want to look at the surprising structure, the real-life stuff that inspired it,
Yeah.
and, the legacy, including that ending.
Right, that ending. We'll definitely get there. But first, the core concept. It's unique, isn't it? Future Ted, Bob Saget's voice, in 2030, telling his kids this epic story about how he met their mom, Tracy McConnell.
Covering the years 2005 to 2013, basically.
And it's not just jokes. It blends sitcom, rom-com, and honestly, some pretty heavy dramatic moments, too.
For sure. And what's immediately interesting when you break it down is how it looks like a standard hangout show, like Friends.
Yeah, on the surface.
But that narration, that frame story,
Yeah.
it immediately blows that up. It allows for all this nonlinear stuff,
Yeah.
jumping back and forth in time. They built this whole mythology over like a decade. It really rewarded the people who stuck with it.
Okay, let's start at the beginning. The creators, Carter Bays and Craig Thomas. Where did this idea even come from?
Well, it wasn't some abstract concept. It was super personal. They were writers together on Letterman.
Right? In New York.
Exactly. And they basically just wanted to, quote, write about our friends and the stupid stuff we did in New York. It came directly from their own lives, navigating their late 20s, early 30s. That's where that authenticity comes from, I think.
And that translates directly to the characters, doesn't it? Ted is kind of based on Bays?
Loosely, yeah. The sort of hopeless romantic architect. And Marshall and Lily, the rock-solid couple.
They're based on Thomas and his wife, Rebecca.
Right. Which leads to this amazing little casting story.
Yeah.
Rebecca, Thomas's wife, she was okay with having Lily based on her.
Yeah.
But she had one condition.
Only one. What was it?
They had to cast Allison Hannigan. No one else.
Wow. That's specific.
Super specific.
Yeah.
But Hannigan was perfect. Coming off Buffy, American Pie, she was looking for a comedy, and it just clicked. Imagine pinning your show on getting one specific actress. But it worked. She and Jason Segel had that chemistry.
Yeah, you totally believed them as a couple from day one.
And you needed that. You needed that stable anchor with, Ted's endless searching and Barney being, Barney, #tag be behind the scenes production decisions.
Speaking of casting coups, Robin Scherbatsky. Ted's big love interest for most of the show, but explicitly not the mother. That casting was apparently make or break, too.
Oh, huge. So Jennifer Love Hewitt was offered the part first. Big star at the time.
Hey, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, she turned it down. So they ended up casting Kobe Smulders, who was pretty much unknown then, especially in the U.S.
Yeah.
And Bays and Thomas later said this was like a massive stroke of luck. Because she was unknown, the audience discovered her with Ted. Their quote was something like, "When Ted's seeing her for the first time, America's seeing her for the first time."
Huh. That makes sense. It adds to the mystery, the intrigue.
Exactly. It wasn't like, oh, there's Jennifer Love Hewitt playing Robin. It was, who is this person Ted's so obsessed with? Helped keep people hooked.
Okay, but production-wise, the show itself, it looks smooth, but behind the scenes, it sounds like it was kind of nuts to film. You hear laughs, but it wasn't a live audience show.
Not even close. Your typical sitcom. Multi-camera, live audience, boom, boom, boom.
Yeah.
H-I-M wham.
Yeah.
Single camera, much more cinematic. And the reason, that structure we talked about.
Flashbacks and flash forwards.
Constantly. They'd have sometimes 50 different scenes crammed into one 22-minute episode. Little quick cuts, fantasy bits.
You couldn't possibly do that live.
Impossible.
Rebecca.
Craig Thomas joked it would blur the line between audience and hostage situation. You'd be there all night.
Huh. Okay, so the laugh track.
It's there, but it was added later. They'd finish editing an episode, screen it for an audience, and record their laughter. So you get the feel
Right.
without the production nightmare.
Clever. Now, this next bit about controlling the narrative. This is wild.
Yeah.
They knew the ending years in advance and filmed part of it.
This is probably the craziest bit of long-term planning in TV history.
Mm.
Back in 2006, during Season 2.
Season 2.
Yeah. They realized the actors playing Ted's kids, Luke and Penny, were teenagers. By the time the show ended, potentially 8-9 years later, they wouldn't look right.
Oh, good point. They'd be adults.
Exactly. So they filmed the kids' part of the final scene, the big reveal on the couch, way back then, in 2006.
No way! They filmed the series finale ending 8 years early.
Just the kids' reactions on the couch, yeah. Got them to sign NDAs, lock the footage away. It meant they were committed to that specific ending from incredibly early on. Talk about sticking to your guns. #C. Setting and sound.
Okay, let's talk about the vibe. McLaren's Pub. The gangs hang out. It feels so real, but it wasn't actually one specific bar, right?
All right, it was more of an homage.
Yeah.
A composite. Bays and Thomas based it on like 4 different bars they actually went to in New York. McGee's, McHale's, Chumley's, and Fez. They apparently took inspiration from a mural in McGee's for the look.
And the name, McLaren's. Any significance?
Yeah, a nice little inside joke. It was named after Carter Bay's assistant at the time, Carl McLaren.
And they named the bartender Carl, too.
Doubling down. It's that kind of personal touch that makes the world feel lived in, you know?
Totally. And the theme song, that short, catchy bit at the start.
Instantly recognizable, right?
Yeah.
Just 12 seconds. It's a clip from a song called Hey Beautiful by a band called The Solids.
Okay.
And here's the kicker. Bays and Thomas, they're in The Solids.
But out. They wrote their own theme song.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Just reinforces how much of their own DNA is baked into this show, right down to the music.
Yeah.
And they were super involved in picking all the songs throughout the series, too. Lots of key emotional moments hinged on specific tracks. #Tag 2, the unreliable narrator and narrative devices. #Tag A, the framing device and unreliable memories.
Okay, let's really get into the structure. Future Ted in 2030, telling the story. We mentioned Bob Saget's voiceover. But the sources hammer this home. He is an unreliable narrator. That changes everything.
It's absolutely crucial. Like, it's the master key to understanding the show. He's telling this story decades after it happened.
So memories fade, details get fuzzy.
Exactly. He misremembers things, he exaggerates, he leaves stuff out, he frames things to make himself look maybe a little better.
Or just to suit the story he wants to tell his kids.
Precisely. And that unreliability does a few key things. One, it papers over some of Ted's less flattering moments. Let's be honest, Ted could be kind of pretentious or self-pitying sometimes. Future Ted sands those edges down a bit, makes himself the slightly more heroic protagonist of his own story.
Okay, that makes sense. What else?
2, it justifies all the crazy structural jumps. The conflicting accounts of the same night, the nested flashbacks, the stories changing slightly each time they're told. His unreliable memory is the perfect excuse for that narrative playfulness. Think about the GOAT episode, where everything is out of order.
Right, you're piecing it together with him almost.
And 3rd, it's how they got around network censors, especially with stuff Ted wouldn't want to explicitly tell his kids about.
The euphemisms.
The best ones. Sex, drugs, swearing. He substitutes things, like the famous eating a sandwich euphemism for smoking pot.
Or sometimes literally showing an animal instead of a person during an awkward story.
Yeah. It's funny, but it also fits the frame. Dad trying to keep it relatively clean for the kids. It serves the comedy and the premise. #Tag B, the core 5, and the mother's delayed entrance.
So let's talk about the main gang, the core 5. They obviously grew over 9 years, but those core personalities were there from the start.
Absolutely. You've got Ted Mosby, played by Josh Radnor, the architect searching for the one. That's his whole deal. And we know, spoiler alert, he finds Tracy, the mother, but she passes away in 2024, which sets up the controversial ending where he might go back to Robin.
Okay. Then Marshall and Lily, the established couple.
Marshall Erickson, Jason Segel, Ted's best friend from college. He's the heart. The Minnesota nice guy, but obsessed with Sasquatch, starts wanting to save the world as an environmental lawyer, takes a detour into corporate law hell at GNB.
Goliath National Bank.
Right, before eventually getting back to his dream and becoming a judge. Big arc for him.
And Lily Aldrin, Allison Hannigan.
She seems sweet, the kindergarten teacher, but underneath, she's kind of the master manipulator of the group, isn't she?
Totally. Pulling strings behind the scenes.
And dealing with her own stuff, like the secret credit card debt from compulsive shopping. That becomes a huge plot point, forcing Marshall into that GNB job he hates. Adds real friction to the perfect couple.
Then there's the breakout character, really, Barney Stinson.
Neil Patrick Harris. Iconic.
Yeah.
Suit up. Legendary. The playbook. He's the ultimate playboy, but it all stems from these deep-seated abandonment issues from his childhood.
Right, his dad leaving.
Exactly. The suits, the rules, the playbook, it's all armor. He does marry Robin, briefly.
Is it?
They divorce. But his big change comes when he has his daughter, Ellie, totally by accident. That finally breaks through.
And rounding out the 5, Robin Scherbatsky, Kobe Smulders.
The career-focused Canadian news anchor, She's fiercely independent, doesn't want kids, loves scotch, cigars, guns. She's positioned almost as one of the guys in some way.
Which makes her dynamic with Ted, who wants the exact opposite: wife, kids, white picket fence, so compelling.
And so frustrating for him.
Now, the biggest structural gamble, holding back the mother, Tracy McConnell, until the very end of season 8.
Insane, right? A show called How I Met Your Mother, and you don't meet the mother for 8 years. Kristen Milioti comes in, and she's perfect. But the whole show up to that point is technically about not meeting her. It's about the journey.
But they did leave clues, didn't they? Like her name.
Yeah, a little Easter egg for the superfans. Her first name, Tracy, was actually mentioned way, way back in season 1, episode 9. A stripper tells Ted her name is Tracy, and he jokes, "And that, kids, is how I met your mother." Just a throwaway line, but they knew. It shows the long game they were playing, #Tag3. Deep dive into the subplots and running gags.
What made him so rich, I think, was its commitment to its own running gags. These weren't just one-off jokes they built over seasons. The prime example has to be the slap bet.
Oh, the slap bet. The gold standard of long-form sitcom gags. It started simply enough in season 2. Why does Robin hate malls?
Barney guessed porn, Marshall guessed she got married there.
Right. And Marshall introduces the slap bet. Winner gets to slap the loser. Lily naturally becomes the slap bet commissioner.
And the answer was Robin Sparkles, teenage Canadian pop sensation.
Legendary reveal. So Marshall wins. But here's the genius twist. Lily gives Barney a choice. 10 slaps right now, or 5 slaps, delivered by Marshall, anytime, anywhere, across eternity.
And Barney, being Barney, took the 5 slaps spread out.
Which kept the gag alive for 7 more seasons. It became this recurring event, slapsgiving. Marshall built up this whole mythology around the slaps. The anticipation was incredible.
They really milked those last few slaps.
Absolutely. And the final 2, slaps 4 and 5, delivered right before Barney and Robin's wedding in the final season. Perfect payoff, tying it all together after all those years. #be Robin Sparkles in the pop star past.
And the Robin Sparkles reveal itself just opened up this whole other world of jokes.
It was amazing. First, let's go to the mall. An instant classic within the show's world and kind of for the fans too. But it wasn't just silly.
Right, it had plot significance.
Totally. The second song, Sandcastles in the Sand, the power ballad. That's what brings Barney and Robin together for the first time, really. They bond over watching her embarrassing music video. It showed vulnerability.
And then they explored her darker phase, too.
Yeah, trying to break away from the pop image. Her grunge phase is Robin Daggers with P.S. I Love You, mocking Alanis Morissette a bit. It was all just so well observed, playing on those Canadian stereotypes, too, in a fun way. Always reminding us she was slightly the outsider. #tag, the pineapple incident, and the captain.
Okay, next iconic mystery. The pineapple incident. Season 1. Ted wakes up drunk, sprained ankle, girl in his bed he doesn't remember, and a pineapple. Why did that stick with people so much?
Because they never explained it. It was the one loose end they deliberately left dangling for the entire run of the show.
For 9 years.
Yep. Ted even says in a later season, "We never found out where the pineapple came from." It became this symbol of unexplained drunken nights and the random chaos of youth. Fans obsessed over it.
So did they ever explain it?
They did, but not in the show itself. It was in a deleted scene on the season 9 DVD from the episode Daisy.
Ah, okay. So what was the big secret?
It involved the captain. You know, Zoe's weird boat-obsessed ex-husband played by Kyle MacLachlan.
Oh, yeah, him.
Apparently, the captain followed some old naval tradition of putting a pineapple outside his house as a sign of hospitality.
Yeah.
Ted, completely wasted, just walked by and stole it on his way home.
That's it. He just stole it.
That's it. Anticlimactic, maybe. But they filmed the explanation. They just chose not to include it in the final cut, maybe thinking the mystery was better left unsolved. #tag, the playbook, and Barney's philosophy.
Can't talk about Barney without talking about the playbook.
The legendary leather-bound book of scams. First shown in detail in season 5, I think. It wasn't just pickup lines. It was these incredibly elaborate, sometimes sociopathic schemes to pick up women.
Like the Lorenzo von Matterhorn.
Exactly. Creating fake websites, elaborate backstories. It was the physical manifestation of his refusal to be vulnerable, his shield against genuine connection, all tied back to his dad issues.
But he had to give it up, symbolically at least, for Robin.
Had to. The season 8 finale, his proposal to Robin is the final play, The Robin. And as part of it, he burns the playbook. It signifies him finally being willing to ditch the games and be sincere.
Even though he maybe had a backup copy.
Well, yeah, it's Barney. But the symbolic act was key. And, you know, the playbook and Barney's whole philosophy, it spun off into actual books.
Oh, yeah. The bro code, bro on the go.
Bro code for parents. And a cool little tidbit, if you watch this show in syndication, sometimes they'd put little excerpts from the bro code on screen as vanity cards at the very end. Extra content for the fans. ###E the doppelgangers. And signs from the universe.
Another great running gag that evolved. The search for the doppelgangers.
Started as just a funny visual thing in Season 5, seeing people on the street who looked exactly like the main five. Lesbian Robin, Mustache Marshall, Stripper Lily.
Mexican wrestler Ted.
Can't forget Mexican wrestler Ted. But then Marshall and Lily turned it into something more. They decided they wouldn't start trying for a baby until they saw the fifth and final doppelganger, Barney's. It became this, sign from the universe they were waiting for.
Which created real tension because they kept thinking they saw him.
Right. They saw a street magician, a cab driver.
Yeah.
Even Barney himself in disguise once. It was frustrating for them. But the actual payoff was so perfect.
Who was it in the end?
It wasn't a random lookalike. In Season 6, when they're struggling to conceive, they go to see a fertility specialist, Dr. Stangel, and he looks exactly like Barney.
No way.
Yes. So, the final doppelganger wasn't just a random sighting. He was the actual person who could help them start their family. The sign they needed was literally the help they needed. Beautiful writing. #tag4B. Season highlights, the finale, and mixed reception. #tag key narrative moments by season.
Okay, looking back, you can see how they built the stakes season by season. Season 1 sets up the core dynamics.
Yeah, Marshall proposes to Lily, Ted meets Robin, Aunt Robin, crucially, and then bam. The season ends with Lily leaving Marshall to go to San Francisco for art school. That moment of Marshall sitting on the steps in the rain, that was heavy for a sitcom. Showed they weren't afraid to go there.
And Season 3 introduces some key recurring elements.
Definitely. Marshall and Lily buy that awful apartment in Dallas Trupla.
Downwind of the sewage treatment plant.
The slanted floors, the constant problems. It became a physical symbol of their financial issues, mostly Lily's shopping debt. And crucially, Season 3 is when Ted gets the yellow umbrella. At that St. Patty's Day party he wasn't even supposed to be at.
A huge moment, even though we didn't know its full significance yet. Season 4 felt like a big reset for Ted.
Massive heartbreak. Stella leaves him at the altar. Ouch. But career-wise, things shift. Marshall gets sucked into GMB.
Goliath National Bank. The evil empire.
And Ted ends up designing their new headquarters, which he hates. It forces Marshall to compromise his environmental ideals to pay off Lily's debt. Again, real conflict for the perfect couple. Ted eventually escapes GNB and becomes a professor, which feels much more like him.
Fast forward to Season 7, babies and big relationship moves.
Huge season. Marshall finally gets his environmental law dream job. Lily has Marvin Wafer Erickson. Adorable. And the Barney-Robin relationship really heats up, despite Quinn getting in the way for a bit. Then the season ends with that flash-forward bombshell. Barney's bride at the wedding is Robin, setting up the endgame.
Which brings us to Season 9's unique structure. Almost the whole season is just one weekend.
Pretty much. 22 out of 24 episodes cover just the 56 hours leading up to Barney and Robin's wedding in Farhampton. It was a bold move.
How did that work?
It let them do really intricate, non-linear stuff, jumping around within that weekend. And most importantly, it allowed the mother, Tracy, to meet each member of the gang individually before she finally meets Ted. We got to know her and see why she was perfect for him through their eyes first. #B, critical response, and the finale backlash.
Now, the show wasn't always a critical darling, was it? The reception changed over time.
Yeah, the early seasons, especially Season 2, got a lot of acclaim. Critics loved it. But as it went on, maybe Seasons 5, 7, definitely 8, the reviews got more mixed.
Was Season 8 considered the weakest?
Often, yeah. There was a feeling they were treading water, delaying the inevitable meeting with the mother. Getting that 9th season renewed was apparently tough, especially getting Jason Segel back on board. Once they locked Season 9, though, they could finally cast Kristen Milioti and execute the endgame.
The endgame being the finale, March 31st, 2014. An hour long, and oh boy, the reaction.
Overwhelmingly negative, like viscerally negative, from a huge chunk of the fan base and critics.
Why, what was the core issue?
It all came down to the last maybe 15, 20 minutes. After spending the entire final season building up to Barney and Robin's wedding and finally introducing Tracy, who everyone loved.
You revealed Barney and Robin get divorced after just 3 years.
Yep. And then, the gut punch, Tracy gets sick and dies in 2024. And the very final scene, using that footage filmed back in 2006, has Ted's kids telling him, "Mom's been gone for 6 years, it's time to move on. Ask Aunt Robin out."
Yeah.
And he does.
So after 9 years of being told Robin isn't the mother, Ted ends up with Robin anyway.
Exactly. Fans felt like 9 years of character development, especially for Barney and Robin learning to commit, and all the emotional investment in Tracy was just thrown out the window to stick to an ending plan back when the show was completely different.
It felt like a betrayal of the journey.
That was the word used a lot. Betrayed. It ended up on all those worst TV finales ever lists almost immediately. It really soured the legacy for a lot of people.
And the backlash was so strong, they actually released another ending.
They did on the Season 9 DVD, an official alternate ending. It basically cuts out the whole final section. No divorce for Barney and Robin, no mention of Tracy dying. It just ends happily with Ted meeting Tracy at the Farhampton train station under the yellow umbrella.
Wow. So viewers could choose their own preferred ending, essentially.
Pretty much. A tacit admission, maybe, that the original ending didn't land the way they'd hoped for many viewers. #HagV, #A, tie-ins and music.
One thing HIM did incredibly well was extending its world beyond the TV screen, especially online.
Oh yeah, that was brilliant. Almost every fake website mentioned in the show, they made it real.
Like what?
Goliath National Bank had a site. Ted Mosby ISJjerk.com was real. You could watch Barney's ridiculous video resume. There was a slap bet countdown website, Puzzles the Bar, LilyEyesinLabor.com. Tons of them.
That's amazing. Are they still up?
Some of them actually are, believe it or not. It made the world feel so much bigger and more interactive. A really smart way to build the mythology.
And the music continued to be important right to the end.
Absolutely central. We mentioned Bays and Thomas being in the band that did the theme. They poured that same care into the whole soundtrack. Original songs like Barney's Nothing Suits Me Like a Suit became huge moments.
That was an Emmy-nominated song, right?
It was. And they licensed tracks perfectly for big emotional beats, using the Shins' Simple Song when Ted finally sees Tracy, or Band of Horses The Funeral, during a particularly low point. They knew how to use music. They even released 2 official soundtrack albums, #B spinoffs, and the continuing quest.
With that level of success, spin-offs were inevitable, right? People wanted more.
Totally predictable. The first big attempt was right after HIMY ended, in 2013-2014. It was called How I Met Your Dad.
Okay, same concept, female perspective.
Exactly. It was set to star Greta Gerwig, believe it or not, with Meg Ryan doing the teacher voiceover.
Greta Gerwig! Wow, what happened?
CBS filmed the pilot, but they didn't love it. They asked Bays and Thomas, who were involved, to reshoot it. They refused, said their vision was right, so CBS passed. Dead on arrival.
Ouch. But they kept trying.
The idea wouldn't die. Different writers took stabs at a How I Met Your Father concept over the years. Eventually, Hulu picked it up.
Right, the one with Hilary Duff. That actually made it to air.
Yeah, it launched in 2021. Hilary Duff as Sophie, telling her son how she met his dad. It had a similar structure, modern setting. It even had cameos from Kobe Smulders and Neil Patrick Harris, tying it loosely to the original universe.
How'd it do?
It ran for 2 seasons, but Hulu canceled it in 2023. It just didn't quite capture that same magic, I guess. It kind of proves how hard it is to replicate that specific formula. The original really caught lightning in a bottle. #tagoutro.
So, wrapping up this epic deep dive, what are the big takeaways? It wasn't just a sitcom. The structure was incredibly ambitious.
Definitely. No live audience, the sheer number of cutaways, the long-running gags like the slap bet, the pineapple mystery, the doppelgangers. They built a really dense, rewarding world.
And that world even spilled over onto the internet with the real websites.
Right. But I think the absolute key thing for you to remember, the thing that unlocks it all, is future Ted as that unreliable narrator.
That's the lens through which we see everything.
It justifies the style, the humor, the timeline bending, everything. It let them tell this sprawling story about finding the one, while Ted was mostly focused on Aunt Robin.
But that dedication to a specific structure, a specific ending locked in years before, that's also where the controversy comes in?
Absolutely. Filming that final scene in Season 2 committed them to an outcome. And the sources suggest the backlash against that finale ending was so intense that it actually made studios nervous about greenlighting similarly complex pre-planned sitcoms for a while. It had a real chilling effect, apparently.
Wow. So that leaves us with a final thought, doesn't it? Did that intense commitment to their original ending, the one locked in the vault from 2006, ultimately become a cage? Did it stop the show from evolving naturally with its characters?
It's the big question, right? The legacy isn't just the 9 seasons of laughs and romance. It's also about that final divisive chapter and whether sticking rigidly to the plan, no matter what, was the right call. Something for you to chew on.